but immediately she was hit by the fact that there was an horrific bombing in Peshawar about 2 hours from here, and a marketplace, a suicide bomber, immediately confronted with those grim facts. Also, the fact that there were attacks in neighboring Afghanistan, in Kabul, going to the heart of the government's security there. Claim of responsibility from the Taliban, only reinforcing the disconnect between American policy and the reality on the ground, because the Pakistani people are deeply concerned about the counter reaction, the Taliban and other extremist retaliation for the government's long-awaited move against them in their tribal regions. The U.S. has been pressing the Pakistani government to go after the extremists. Now that they finally have, the Pakistani people feel that they are suffering the result by being caught in the middle. So she's got a lot of damage control to do here, and sat down with a group of Pakistani journalists, a television roundtable, and immediately was asked some very tough questions. It was an eye-opening experience, but one that she seems to enjoy because she wants to do more public diplomacy as she continues this 3-day mission. I'm Andrea Mitchell in Islamabad, Pakistan, with Hillary Clinton.
The thing, I looked on a map 3-4 years ago for some reason, just to see how close Islamabad was from where we heard Osama bin Laden and everybody was hiding out in the Peshawar region. It's closer between those 2 points than it is from New York to Washington.
I'll tell you something, Joe.
They know where they are.
I'll tell you something.
They know where they are.
I'll tell you something that surprises me is I was just going through the New York Times here this morning, and the story about Hillary Clinton taking on the Pakistanis over a legitimate issue. Hey, you've got to take care of your own house. You've got to play your own role here. You've got to do a bigger part in trying to find al-Qaeda members and root out the Taliban in your own country. It's buried in the New York Times. That huge story, and good for the Secretary of State for sticking up for us, never mind them.
No doubt about
Absolutely.
it. And this Iran story is on the front page of the Times. That's a fascinating story. We'll talk about that too. But here is Hillary, though, in Islamabad, and she's talking tough to the Pakistanis. I think we need to do it. They need to be our friends, but at the same time, you know, they don't just get to cash our checks.
I want to get this story about Hillary Clinton in. The Secretary of State wraps up her visit to Pakistan today with more really tough words for that country's leadership. And speaking yesterday, Clinton said, quote, this: Al-Qaeda has had a safe haven in Pakistan since 2002. I find it hard to believe that nobody in your government knows where they are and couldn't get them if they really wanted to. Okay, NBC's Andrea Mitchell talked to Secretary Clinton just a few hours ago, and here is a part of that conversation.
It was such a tragic event, the loss of life, particularly targeting women and children.
But when you went and talked to the university students, you went in, you came across a wall of resistance and suspicion, low-grade anger. They said, you know, why should we trust you? America has betrayed us in the past. How do you deal with that?
I wanted to get that out on the table because the Pakistanis have talked about a trust deficit, and it's a two-way street. We have questions, they have questions, we need to be responding, and we need to be as open as possible. So I thought it was actually very healthy that there was no false politeness.
Everywhere else you've traveled in the world, you've come across skepticism and some tough questions, but your star power, your personality, your passion, your commitment, all of that has won people over. That audience was silent. There was no applause.
But think about it, Andrea. I would have had some of the same tough questions. In fact, I was thinking back, there was one young woman who was standing up, and she was, you know, very kind about me personally and all the kinds of things that people say.
Yeah, and then she let you have it.
And then she, you know, came with a zinger, and I thought, oh my gosh, there but for accident of birth go I.
Well, you said, you know, I'm not going to dance around the issues.
Right.
And you were blunt. And then you basically, you know, laid out the suspicions that Americans and the American government has long had, that the Pakistani government missed opportunities, did not go after al-Qaeda aggressively enough.
Wow. You know, first of all, the approach in Pakistan that she's taking, it's gutsy.
Well, it really is, and it needs to be done.
Before we go to break, I want to just touch on one more story, and that's Secretary of State Hillary Clinton pressing ahead with her trip to Pakistan after a massive bombing on Wednesday there underscored the country's fragile security. The death toll now stands at 100, including many women and children. Clinton says the violence only strengthens the United States' commitment to fight the insurgent threat. Here she is.
I want you to know that this fight is not Pakistan's alone. These extremists are committed to destroying that which is dear to us as much as they are committed to destroying that which is dear to you and to all people. And we commit to stand shoulder to shoulder with the Pakistani people in your fight for peace and security. We will give you the help that you need in order to achieve your goal.
Hillary Clinton's prepared statements. Here's a more off-the-cuff moment where she's talking to local news anchors in Pakistan about their difficult relationship and trying to communicate aid, support, versus trying to stem the violence there. Take a listen.
You don't have to believe it. We don't have to give you the money. I mean, this is like, you know, this is not, nobody is saying you must take this money.
A complicated relationship between the U.S. and Pakistan, to say the least.
Good for her.
I'll tell you,
Yeah.
she's done a
great point.
She's done a good job all year, but I think this is the moment right now. This particular trip is the moment when Barack Obama's sitting there saying, "I'm glad she's Secretary of State."
I think so. I mean, I can't disagree with that. I wonder how it'll translate. It's always difficult dealing with all different cultures, but certainly she's making herself very clear. We don't have to give you the money. Up next.
I announced today that I'm forming a presidential exploratory committee. I'm not just starting a campaign, though. I'm beginning a conversation with you, with America, because we all need to be part of the discussion if we're all going to be part of the solution.
So it is official. A woman is running for president of the United States.
We're going on, we're going strong, and we're going all the way.
I'll tell you, we are not quite sure if she is going to make her way to any sort of microphone for a statement. It doesn't appear that way, so we'll just kind of watch some of these pictures here.
She's faced moments of public pain and private crisis, and seems to get stronger. She went from the White House to Capitol Hill, an elected official in her own right.
And whether you talk about the polls that have changed on the trust that actually this country now has for women to manage the hardest thing that's kept us out of the White House, and that is security. Over half the voters now trust women at the same level as men to really make good decisions on foreign policy, homeland security, and the economy. And we've had 2 secretaries of state that have made it normal to see women in those positions.
I want you to think outside the proverbial box. I want you to give me the best advice you can. I want you to understand there is nothing that I welcome more than a good debate and the kind of dialogue that will make us better. So I take this office with a real sense of joy and responsibility, commitment and collaboration. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to work. Thank you, and God bless you here today in this historic, magnificent building. The 50th woman to leave this earth is orbiting overhead. If we can blast 50 women into space, we will someday launch a woman into the White House.
This Gallup poll that just came out, you were more popular than the president. President Obama, 56%, Clinton, 62%.
Now there's a new poll out showing that the Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, is more popular than the president.
The most popular person in the Obama administration is not the president.
Good morning.
It's his Secretary of State.
It is just, to me, inexcusable that in a country as rich as ours, we cannot figure out how to provide quality, affordable health care.
For 15 years, I have stood up against the right-wing machine, and I've come out stronger. So if you want a winner who knows how to take them on, I'm your girl.
I want the 18 million people who have voted for me
to be seen and heard, to be respected, to be given the real appreciation that you're due. We have won more votes than anyone has ever won who has run for the presidential nomination of any party in our country's history. I am very proud of that. But more than that, I am humbled and grateful.
It is inconceivable to me people who work hard and do a good job every day can still be fired because of who they love. It is unfair, it is un-American, and we're going to put a stop to it once and for all.
Well, I think it's important that we recognize how people feel across America. They feel as though they're standing on a trap door. They are one pink slip, one missed mortgage payment, one medical diagnosis away from falling through.
Hillary Clinton is now viewed favorably by 65% of Americans, outshining even Michelle Obama.
Although we weren't able to shatter that highest, hardest glass ceiling this time, thanks to you, it's got about 18 million cracks in it. And the light is shining through like never before, filling us all with the hope and the sure knowledge that the path will be a little easier next time.
It's not over until the lady in the pantsuit says it is.